This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for June 29th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Monday edition of the podcast. Hope everyone had a great weekend out there. We have a lot to recap since I recorded a little earlier on Friday. So let's get right into Rewind the Weekend like we do every Monday. Brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. They got you covered for your Philly sports apparel needs. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. A pretty good weekend for the Phils. Thursday, during that game that I was actually recording under, they got behind early, came back, scored 5 runs in the 9th to win it. They became the first team in Major League Baseball history to hit a go-ahead home run in the 9th inning in 3 straight games. It's amazing that in baseball there's still things that come up that have never been done since the sport's been around so long. And then they did take 2 of 3 from the Mutts over the weekend. Zach Wheeler was awesome on Friday. Little bit of offense, or not a whole lot of offense Friday or Saturday, really, for that matter. Losing on Saturday 6-2. Rangel was not good. Also, their fielding was atrocious. It's probably going to be one of those things that's going to be the Achilles heel of this team is their fielding. They had a nice little league inning. Bryce did hit a 2-run shot. And then yesterday, another come from behind. This time it was Schwarber late in the game. Hit his 30th home run, fastest in team history to get to 30 home runs. I think I saw that he's on pace for like 58 home runs now. But I think the most important thing out of yesterday's game was the fact that the Braves lost again. The Phils are now 3 games out with a 4-game series against the Pirates. We will get to see Skeens down at Citizens Bank Park this week, but not a bad weekend at all for the Phils. They're finally able to make up some ground on the Braves, which is fine. Like they went on that hot streak, and the Braves just were not losing. So I will take that. And then, of course, some soccer. United States lost to Turkey 3-2, but no harm, no foul. Game didn't matter. A lot of backups playing in that game. They will take on Bosnia and Herzegovina on Wednesday at 8 p.m. in the round of 32. And then in Philly, Croatia beat Ghana on Saturday. The final group stage game in Philly. Next game is July 4th. They will play the winner, or host the winner of Germany and Paraguay, and France-Sweden. So we could have a France-Germany matchup on the 4th of July. I still say they dropped the ball, and it should have been the United States playing, but what are you going to do? And I wanted to mention this because I did see this. I sent a note to myself on this, and it's about Jalen Hurts. And I think all the chatter, everybody's saying, oh, they're ripping him for this, and everybody has their opinion on it. And I like the fact that he listens and hears all of it. Dan Orlovsky was on Joe and Hugh's show last week at some point, and Orlovsky told a story at the Eagles Autism Foundation thing where his son was being honored, and he comes up to Jalen. He's like, oh, I made a comic book about you. And Jalen was extremely nice to Orlovsky's son. And he's like, really? And he's like, yeah, like a comic book about Jalen Hurts. And Jalen goes, well, if I'm good enough for your comic book, that means your dad should be a little nicer to me on TV. Just kind of like that little shot, looked him right in the eye. And Orlovsky was like, well played. I respect that. But to me, it shows that Jalen hears all of this stuff, and it kind of, to me, it almost reinforces. I thought that he was going to come out and have a good season this year anyway. To me, it just kind of reinforces that. But he hears it, and that could be good. It could be bad. But I mean, Jalen, you get the same thing every time. So I thought it was great that he said it. I think acknowledging that he hears it and all that. I don't think it's. I think he was going to come out and have a good season anyway, so I don't think it's a bad thing that he hears everything and he's like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And he's going to do it his way. But I thought that was cool that he was like, well, your dad should be a little bit nicer to me. And you got to love it. All right, Flyers had a draft. By all reports I've looked at, and nobody's like, it wasn't a spectacular, like a wow kind of draft. It certainly wasn't a terrible draft. Just kind of They kind of stayed with their focus on size and two-way players. Maxim Sokolowski is their first-round pick. He plays for Ottawa in the OHL, so should be pretty ready to, I would think, come up sooner rather than later. But as I dive into this more, I'll have more. But like I said, I checked 5-6 different places, national, local, and everybody kind of said the same thing. They went and stuck to their plan, but it's not like, oh my gosh, like the Porter Martone or Matvei Mishkov drafts. It's kind of like, okay, it is a position in need. It was the guy they wanted in the first round. They were able to trade back and get some more assets. So if it's who they want, I have no reason right now not to trust them. But as I kind of dive into this and research it more, but like I said, I mean, it was like an average draft, and it was good for, I think I read a quote in the Inquirer today. You could be overwhelmed, underwhelmed, but this is kind of just a whelmed. We were whelmed with this draft. So we'll see as it gets closer, but their camps and everything are going to start soon as well. NBA Summer League will start in a couple weeks as well. This is where we are in the summer. But what happened this weekend in Philly sports history? Let's start and go back to June 27th. On the June 27th in 1963, Phillies beat the Pirates 13-4. Johnny Callison hit for the cycle that day. We just saw Bryce do it, so I felt I'll get it out. So I felt that was appropriate. And then in 2007, Phillies lose to the Reds, but Ryan Howard hit a 505-foot bomb, which is the longest at Citizens Bank Park. He also became the fastest player in Phillies history to get to 100 home runs. I believe, I should have looked this up, and I thought about it. I'll get it for tomorrow. I also believe he was the fastest in Major League Baseball history to 100 home runs. It took him 325 games. Now, there is some dispute about the 505 feet. It's still the longest one, but it was pre-StatCast, so they kind of put an asterisk next to it. I don't know. 505 feet, it's still pretty damn impressive to me. And then 3 years later, Phillies win the rubber match against the Blue Jays 11-2. You might remember that was that series where the Phillies were the away team at Citizens Bank Park due to the G20 summit up in Toronto. Jamie Moyer got the win for the Phils that day, pitched 7 innings, but did give up his 506th career home run, breaking the Major League record set by former Philly Robin Roberts. So Jamie Moyer, most home runs given up by any player in Major League Baseball history. I believe he ended up with 520-something given up, or obviously more than the 506. And then 2018, Phils beat the Yankees 3-0. Rhys Hoskins, 30th home run in his 119th game, breaking the team record for fastest to reach 30 home runs to start a career. So lots of dingers, lots of bombs to talk about on June 27th. Excuse me. And then on June 28th, 2001, groundbreaking for Citizens Bank Park. They kind of gave the plans of what they thought the stadium was going to look like. So a big day. And then the Phillies go out that day and sweep the Marlins in both games of a doubleheader. 3 years later, in 2004, Phils beat the Expos 14-6. David Bell hit for the cycle, 6 RBI. His grandfather, Gus, also hit for the cycle against the Phillies. So almost like a full circle moment there for David. And in 2011, Phils beat the Red Sox 5-0. Cliff Lee with his third straight shutout. Third pitcher in Phillies history to achieve that feat. And that's Rewind the Weekend, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. They got you covered. Take some time and scroll through the site to see everything they have to order. Still not too late to get Dad a gift if you haven't yet. All right, Friday's trivia question. The teams that the Phillies have in the American League a winning record against, that would be the Rays, White Sox, Guardians, Tigers, Royals, Astros, and A's. They're 500 against all of those teams. 500 or better. Be sure to follow me. Some quick housekeeping notes on all social media at Philly Jimbo. YouTube channel at Philly Jimbo as well. Still kind of living large with that. That was a huge, huge get for me. And then quick, I always like it, I always try to make sure everything I say is 100% factually accurate. Friday, we were talking about the Wilbur Snap, the organist for the Clearwater Phillies at the time. His last name is actually, I couldn't read my own writing. Wilbur Snap, not Wilbur Sapp. Wilbur Snap was the organist name. So I wanted to get his name correct, but he was the organist that got thrown out of the game for playing Three Blind Mice on a terrible call. Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. All right, June 29th. And first, we're going to go back to 1985. And on this day in 1985, Mike Schmidt gave an interview to the Montreal Gazette where he essentially ripped Philly fans. Said, whatever I got in my career, I would have had a great deal more if I played in New York or Chicago, a place where fans were just grateful to have me around. As you can imagine, that went over like a ton of bricks, and Philly fans were not happy. But Mike, to his credit, didn't really back down, kind of clarified what he meant somewhat, and then came home on July 1st during warm-ups wearing a long black wig with sunglasses, trying to hide from the fans. Fans appreciated it, gave him a standing ovation, and all was forgiven. But Mike had it rough, and I think a lot of it stemmed from the fact that we like guys like Chase Utley. At the time, we liked guys like Pete Rose, the hustle, the grit, getting your uniform dirty. And it just was not the sort of, I guess, the way Mike played. He also wasn't very outspoken. He was kind of more reserved. So I think it was just kind of one of those fits. And we see it all the time. We were just talking about Jalen Hurts. I think that's one of the reasons why people don't warm up to Jalen Hurts the way they should, or even going back to Donovan or some of the guys that we've had that were just like, eh. But Mike Schmidt made good on this day, or gave the interview on this day, but made good a few days later, wearing the wig and the glasses. My bad. Just was frustrated. And, I mean, I'm sure they were frustrated in 1985, too, because it was sort of a mix of the kind of turning the lineup over and some of those old guys from the early 80s, trying to infuse it with the young guys. I think that was the year, too, that Mike played first base for Rick Shue. So it was just sort of, I could imagine, it's probably just one of those, we're not doing as well as I thought. Spoke out of line. My bad. And then 1 year later, Phils beat the Cardinals in St. Louis, 8-7. Juan Samuel with a grand slam with 2 outs in the top of the ninth. His first ever grand slam. Hit that one off of Todd Worrell. Ron Renicky also homered as the Phils beat the Cardinals in St. Louis, 8-7. Juan Samuel was the hero of this game. And then we're going to go 1 year later to 1987. Chris James homered as the Phillies beat the Pirates 6-5 at the Vet. Steve Bedrosian saved it. It was his 12th consecutive save, breaking the Major League record. He would actually add one more before the streak ended. That was a year Bedrosian won the Cy Young. I think it was the closest Cy Young voting in National League history. But Steve Bedrosian saves his 12th straight game. Pirates 6-5. And then trivia question for today. 12 straight. Seems kind of low. It is. So, who holds the Major League record for consecutive saves? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531 or the Back to the Future. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line, or any of my social media at Philly Jimbo, as well as the Discord channel. The link is in the description. Do a lot of Philly sports talk, especially during games. But who holds the Major League record for consecutive saves in a row? For the Phillies, the record is 44, set by Brad Lidge. So far cry from the 12 that Bedrosian had. Then in 2001, Flyers announced they agreed in principle to sign Jeremy Roenick to a 5-year, $37.5 million contract. Coyotes gave them permission to negotiate early. Bobby Clark then got permission from the NHL to announce it early. The free agency deadline started on July 1st for the NHL that year, but Clark knew that it was going to get out, so he said, can we just sort of officially announce it, and then we won't sign it until the deadline. So he did officially sign on July 2nd. 3 short years in Philly, but they were definitely memorable for JR. He was traded to the Kings to help free up cap space to sign Peter Forsberg. Kind of ironic that we just talked about the Flyers drafting Peter Forsberg a while back, but Flyers announced that they agreed in principle to a contract with Jeremy Roenick, 5-year, $37.5 million. He played 3 years, fan favorite. Some memorable moments in the playoffs as well. So I would say a good signing. Not great because they didn't win a cup, but a decent signing. And in 2003, Phillies beat the Orioles 4-3. Jim Thome with a homer. Kevin Millwood on the mound, 7 2/3 innings. Solid. And then Jose Mesa comes in, saves his 17th game of the season. It was his 104th with the Phillies, setting the team record, passing Steve Bedrosian, the aforementioned Steve Bedrosian. Jose is currently in second place with 112 behind Jonathan Papelbon. So we already asked that trivia question. That's why that was not the question for today. But that's what happened on this day in Philly sports history. And now let's get to the tournament. Brought to you by Beach Caddy. Go to beachcaddy.app if you're in Stone Harbor, Avalon, Wildwood, Ocean City, or Sea Isle. They take the stress out of your Jersey Shore vacation. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your move-in, move-out, as well as your beach cards. Best beach cards at the Jersey Shore. So go to beachcaddy.app. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, so we have results of 2 matchups from last week. First, in the suburban region, the only surprise here is that Malik Rose got as many votes as he did, but Kobe Bryant moves on with 92% of the vote. And then in the Southwest Regional, much closer. I don't know if I agree with this one, but Mikal Bridges moves on with 63% of the vote, defeating Walt Hazard. I would have gone Hazard there, but it's your tournament, your vote. All right, so let's move to the Overbrook Regional. We have a 3-11 matchup today. Jameer Nelson versus Maureece Rice. And I don't know, Maureece could make some noise here. But let's start with Jameer. Went to Chester High, 4A champion, PIAA 4A champion, All-State, All-Delco. He was Delco Player of the Year. His number 14 is retired at Chester. Didn't receive many of the national accolades because he was considered small. So no All-Americans or anything like that for Jameer. Just state championship, All-State, and Delco Player of the Year. Went to St. Joe's, where his jersey is also retired. He was the A-10 Player of the Year, 3-time All-A-10, consensus All-American, consensus National Player of the Year. And who could forget that magical Elite 8 run when John Lucas III dashed the hearts of St. Joe's fans everywhere. Went to the NBA, a solid NBA career, 14 years, made one All-Star team, but he was kind of one of those glue-type guys that just you wanted to have on your team because of the way he played the game. He did get into the front office aspect of things, first with the Delaware Bluecoats, and he is now the executive vice president of basketball operations for the Sixers. Hopefully he's able to take some of what he did on the floor and help build the Sixers into a winner. God, you know how I feel about it. Of course I want them to be a winning team. But he has taken on the 11th seed Maureece Rice out of Strawberry Mansion. Graduated as the Public League's all-time leading scorer. He nicknamed him the Score Lord for his scoring prowess. He still is the boys' all-time leading scorer in Public League history, but he is number 2 all-time. Girls and boys averaged 37 points per game as a junior, 29 as a senior, scored 63 in a game, famously crossed over LeBron James in a matchup down at the Palestra with his, I think he went where St. James is where LeBron went. Maureece is a 2-time Public League champion, went to George Washington where he was A10, Sixth Man of the Year, A10 tournament MVP, got into a little bit of trouble, finished out his career in the G League and overseas. But now it's your turn. Who moves on? Maureece Rice or Jameer Nelson? Get your votes in anywhere you can. It's going to be all over my social media. Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Get your vote in any way you can. A lot of these have been like very close, so get your vote in. Your voice matters. Maureece Rice versus Jameer Nelson. On this day in 2003, Jose Mesa becomes the Phillies' all-time leading saves career leader with 104. He's currently number 2 behind Jonathan Papelbon. 2001, Flyers officially announced that they have agreed in principle to a contract with Jeremy Roenick. 1987, Steve Bedrosian saves his 12th consecutive game, setting a major league record, which was then shattered. That's your trivia question. Who shattered that record in Major League for consecutive saves without a blown one? And then Juan Samuel with his first career grand slam on this day in 1986, helping the Phillies beat the Cardinals 8-7. And then, of course, Mike Schmidt making those famous comments in the Montreal Gazette did come out and say, my bad, I'm sorry. We'll have more on Game 1 of the Phillies-Pirates. Anything I find on the Flyers draft and kind of breaking it down a little bit. They went heavy on defensemen and drafted a couple goalies as well. So you kind of see the vision. And Danny Briere is going with the vision, like the size. They want the guys that can play two ways. And listen, I mean, going after defensemen after the way they kind of, you saw what Carolina was, Flyers need to kind of up that defense. So I'm okay with it. Again, very just blah, not, or not, oh my God, this is terrible. Just kind of, So we'll see what happens as we get there. But of course, we got a long way to go for that. But Phillies Pirates tonight, we'll get more into that. And of course, anything else. Tuesday, we'll be back. Tuesday motivation/positivity. If you are a new listener, I know there might be some new ones out there today. Welcome. We're glad to have you. Be sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube at Philly Jimbo. That way, everything, any news, anything that happens goes right. You get a notification and you're good to go. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for June 29th, 2026. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Monday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.